Hey guys, I'm kind of excited today. I'm finally finishing a video that I started a year and a half ago in St. Ignace. I decided to go on the road with Scratch Cook with John and do a pasty tour, which we did. But I really wanted to make the best pasty recipe I could ever offer you guys. So I went to all different kind of pasties. They're all good. I don't think I've ever had a bad one. But I wanted my recipe to be the one that I could say, this is as good as it's gonna get. So yesterday, I decided to, play around with the recipe I've been working on for like 40 years and see where I was. And I made yesterday the best pasties I've ever had in my life. And so today I'm going to share that recipe with you, and I sure hope you enjoy it. It's authentic, it's delicious, and it's not that hard to make. Well, it is when you, like I did yesterday, accidentally make a batch for 24 pasties. That was a little rough, but today we're going to show you how to make just a batch for 8.
So here we are, off on a great pasty hunt.
And this was our first stop. And of course, we had to go to Lado's, and we went to 2 of their locations. So on the Great Pasty Hunt, there were 3 things I was looking for: the filling and how well it was seasoned, the crust and if it had any flavor, and the gravy. In this video, I skipped the gravy because I know there's the whole gravy versus ketchup thing. I'm not going to, get into an argument with you youpers. I guess, does that make me a downer? I'm not sure how that works. But anyways, I am just focusing on the filling and the crust. Now, one thing I'll say is overall, it seems to me like the crust doesn't get enough attention. So I put my pasties in the very best crust recipe I know, and it really is delicious when you get that wonderful filling, and then at the end you get a buttery, wonderful flavor from that crust. So let's show you how we do this. So let's take a look at these pasties. This one's from Lado's. Delicious, as I said they all are. On the inside, they slice and stack their potatoes, they said, like the fences of Cornwall. This is from A Taste of the Upper Peninsula. Delicious, as I said. And they chop skirt steak or flake steak, which is very traditional with the finished pasties. You can see it here. Now this one is from the Mackinac Pasty and Cookie Company, the thinnest crust of any of them that we saw, and a very tasty filling. We went to many other pasty joints across the Upper Peninsula, but these are the 3 I focused on. And here's your recipe for this fabulous crust. I use this for my pie crust, quiche crust, and it really works excellent on these pasties. 4½ cups of AP flour, a cup and almost 3/4 of buttermilk, 5 tablespoons of chilled lard, 14 tablespoons of chilled butter, and 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. Now I've taken everything except the buttermilk and popped it into my food processor. I'm just going to pulse it until the butter and the lard is something smaller than the size of a pea. And now that I've got that butter and lard thoroughly mixed into the flour and salt, I'm going to go ahead and add our buttermilk. I've poured this into a bowl now so I can make this into a dough. And you're just going to have to get your hands right in here and mix this up. It's the only way to do it. And once I've got this crust all mixed together, I'm going to cut it in half, form each half into a disc, cover that with plastic wrap, and put it in the fridge for about an hour. So this is the filling I made for the pasties yesterday. I made 8 of them yesterday and still have this much left over. But I just got to tell you a few tricks to it. It's a very traditional pasty filling. So I wanted a little bit more meat texture, but up north, what the original recipe was very small diced, either skirt steak or flank steak. And I've had those where they were really dry, just really chewy, couldn't do it. So, and I've had a lot of them that just look like they have hamburger in them. And so I wanted something that had some meatiness to it, but not as fine ground as hamburgers. So I actually ground my own chuck yesterday. And any butcher, anywhere you go, you could ask for coarse ground chuck, and they can grind it for you. So start with coarse ground chuck. And in this recipe for you, it's going to be about a pound of it. In addition to the coarse ground chuck, you're going to need 3 cups of diced Yukon Gold potatoes. Use Yukon Gold. And then 1 cup of diced rutabaga. And to me, it's not a pasty if it doesn't have rutabaga in it. It just gives it that flavor. 3/4 of a cup of diced carrot. And then 1.25 cups of diced sweet onion. So those were the ingredients that I put in now. 2 tablespoons of salt. 1 tablespoon of fresh ground black pepper. And then I took a couple tablespoons of warm water and mixed 1 teaspoon of beef better than bouillon. You could use a bouillon cube if you wanted to, and mix that into it. And that was my filling. And we'll show you in a few minutes how we put that all together. And here's what it's going to look like when you get it all mixed up. Oh yeah, one more thing. Preheat your oven, 350. Okay, kids, so now to put these together, you want to have everything ready, which is a little flour, one of your dough balls, a rolling pin, a sheet pan lined with parchment paper, something to measure 8 or 9 inch circle, your filling, and a stick of butter. So let's get started. The first thing, you want to flour your board well. We're going to take out our dough ball, our crust here, put it in the flour. I'm just going to smash it down good with my hand. This probably could have used a little more time in the fridge today, but it's going to be fine. It's going to get messy. Wear an apron. I'm going to roll this out to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And the goal here is to get 3 pasties out of it, and then to be able to make 1 more from what didn't work in the perfectly round circles, the scraps. Okay, so now let's cut 1 circle out of here. I'm going to take my sharp knife, cut that circle out. Oh, there was one other thing I forgot to tell you. You got to have a little bowl of water. Now I'm going to put my filling in. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that on the bottom half. And you want to get as much in as you can while not breaking your dough, pulling it over. So it's about 1.25 cups maybe, something like that. And then I'm going to take my sharp knife, and I'm just going to put a little pat of butter right in the middle, press that down. And then the water is to do this, just to wet the edges. And we want to fold this top over. And the way I do it is I try to get it there, but then I push my fingers in so that the bottom and top halves meet the same distance. Now, you could just take a fork here and do like that. I kind of like to make them a little fancier, so I'm going to press this out a little bit, and then I just roll this dough with 2 fingers around that outside edge, being careful to not poke a hole. It's not the end of the world if you do poke a hole. Just take a little extra dough and patch it. And that's it. That's all you're going to do there. Make that little beauty. Then in the top, I'm just going to make a little X with my sharp knife. That vents it so that they won't explode in the oven. So there's number 1. Now we're just going to throw these into a 350-degree oven for 1 hour. And here are the best pasties I've ever had straight out of the oven. I love pasties. I've always loved pasties. And now I can say I can make them at home anytime, and they're the best pasties I've ever had. I sure hope you agree, and I hope you make them, and I hope you keep watching more Scratch Cook with John.